Have you ever wondered how the ancient Greeks dressed? What was their sense of fashion like? Well, buckle up for an intriguing journey back in time. Ancient Greek clothing was not just a necessity but an art, a combination of elegance, functionality, and symbolism. The Greeks had an acute sense of style, mirroring their rich culture and values. Their clothing was typically made from natural, breathable materials like linen and wool, perfect for the warm Mediterranean climate they resided in. The ancient Greeks were practical, their clothing simple yet sophisticated, often consisting of large rectangular pieces of fabric that were skillfully draped and secured. This simplicity, however, did not mean a lack of fashion sense. On the contrary, it reflected their keen eye for aesthetics and understanding of human anatomy. Now let's dive deeper into the specifics of what men and women wore in ancient Greece. Prepare to be amazed by the timeless elegance and creativity of ancient Greek fashion. The men in ancient Greece had a simple yet effective wardrobe. The heart of men's clothing was the chiton, a versatile piece that was as practical as it was symbolic. This rectangular piece of fabric was draped over the body and fastened at the shoulders with pins or brooches, creating a flowing silhouette that was both comfortable and stylish. The chiton was made from lightweight materials such as linen or wool, perfect for the balmy Mediterranean climate. The length and fit of the chiton varied according to the occasion and the wearer's social status. A shorter chiton, often reaching to the knees, was preferred for daily activities and work, while a longer, more elaborate version graced formal events and ceremonies. Another key garment in the ancient Greek man's wardrobe was the himation. This was a larger piece of fabric, often draped over the chiton and used as a cloak. The himation served multiple purposes. It was a statement of style, a source of warmth in the cooler months, and a mark of formality. Interestingly, how a man wore his himation could also convey subtle messages. If draped over the left shoulder and under the right arm, it signaled that the man was engaged in serious business or was attending a formal event. If worn loosely draped over both shoulders, it suggested a more relaxed, casual setting. Clothing in ancient Greece was not just about covering the body. It was a reflection of the society's values, a mirror of the culture's aesthetics, and a tool for non-verbal communication. The simplicity of the men's clothing belied the complexity of the ideas it represented. Balance, harmony, and proportion were all integral to the ancient Greek ethos, and these principles were beautifully embodied in the flowing lines and understated elegance of the chiton and the himation. While men's clothing was about function and comfort, women's clothing had its own unique features, but that's a story for another time. For now, let's appreciate the subtle sophistication and timeless style of men's clothing in ancient Greece. Women in ancient Greece, much like the men, had their unique clothing items. The primary garment worn by women was the peplos. This was a large rectangle of heavy fabric, either woolen or linen, fastened at the shoulders with pins or brooches. The peplos was open on one side of the body, creating an airy, draped effect that was both practical and visually appealing. The peplos was typically worn over a lighter chiton, making it kind of an ancient version of a coat. In the cooler months, the peplos would provide an extra layer of warmth, while in warmer seasons, it could be removed, leaving the woman in her lighter chiton. The chiton itself was a rectangular piece of light fabric, often pleated and fastened at the shoulders, much like the men's version. However, unlike the masculine chiton, the women's version was longer, usually reaching the ground, and could be worn as an undergarment or on its own for more formal occasions. The chiton could be either sleeveless, known as the Doric chiton, or with long sleeves, known as the Ionic chiton. The Doric style was more traditional and simpler, while the Ionic chiton was more elaborate, often made from finer materials and decorated with intricate patterns or embroidery. It's worth noting that the choice between a peplos and a chiton was not merely a matter of personal preference or fashion. The style of garment a woman wore could signal her marital status, with the peplos often being favored by married women, while younger, unmarried women typically wore the chiton. It's fascinating how ancient Greek women used their clothing as a form of expression to signal their status, and to adhere to the societal norms of their time. Beyond the basic garments, the Greeks also accessorized their outfits, adding another layer of complexity and style to their already sophisticated fashion sense. But we'll delve into that in the next segment. Accessories and footwear completed the Greek ensemble. Like their clothing, the Greeks' accessories were functional yet stylish. Both men and women might enhance their outfits with a variety of belts to cinch their flowing garments, while jewelry added a touch of elegance. Beads, necklaces, bracelets, and hair ornaments were common, often made of gold or bronze and sometimes adorned with precious gemstones. Footwear, too, was an essential part of the Greek wardrobe. From simple sandals crafted from leather, perfect for the sun-soaked streets of ancient Athens, to more elaborate shoes, often intricately designed and adorned for special occasions or high-ranking individuals. But these accessories were not just for show. They were often dyed vibrant colors and patterns, adding an extra layer of sophistication. Even the most mundane items could be transformed into a fashion statement, testament to the Greeks' attention to detail and their appreciation for beauty in everyday life. Color and pattern played a significant role in ancient Greek clothing. The Greeks had a knack for turning simple fabrics into vibrant displays of personal expression. They often dyed their garments in striking hues, such as red, blue, and purple. These dyes were extracted from plants, insects, and even minerals, showcasing their ingenuity and connection with nature. Patterns also held a special place in ancient Greek fashion. Stripes and checks were commonplace, adding a touch of visual intrigue to the garments. But nothing was more prevalent than the meander motif, a continuous line that twisted and turned into a labyrinth-like design. This iconic pattern is also known as the Greek key, a symbol of infinity and unity in their culture. So, ancient Greek clothing wasn't just about aesthetics or functionality. The colors and patterns they chose carried significant meaning and told stories about the wearer's identity and status. Clothing wasn't just about style, it also conveyed important social information. In ancient Greece, what you wore could say a lot about you. Clothing was more than a necessity or a fashion statement. It was a language in itself, communicating social status, gender roles, and cultural identity. The ancient Greeks placed a high value on simplicity and modesty. Wealthy citizens, despite their ability to afford extravagant garments, often chose to wear simple clothing, reflecting a societal emphasis on modesty and virtue. The sumptuousness of a garment was less about the fabric's value and more about the craftsmanship involved in its creation. Yet, it wasn't all about simplicity. Certain garments and accessories were markers of status. For instance, the hymation, a larger piece of fabric worn as a cloak, was often associated with wealthier men. The quality of this garment, its color, and the way it was draped could signal the wearer's social rank. For women, the length and complexity of their garments, particularly the peplos and chiton, could indicate their marital status or their family's wealth. A longer, more elaborate peplos often suggested a woman of higher social standing. The symbolism extended to color as well. Purple, for instance, was a dye that was expensive to produce, and as such, was often associated with royalty and the elite. So, a garment dyed in purple was a clear marker of high status. In the realm of cultural identity, clothing was a unifying factor. Despite the many city-states that made up ancient Greece, the basic styles of clothing remained largely consistent, creating a shared cultural identity across the region. But clothing also played a role in defining gender norms. Men's and women's clothing, while similar in many respects, had distinct differences that reinforced societal gender roles. Men's garments were generally shorter and less elaborate, while women's clothing was longer and more intricate, reflecting the societal expectations of the time. The influence of ancient Greek fashion extends far beyond its time. The ancient Greeks' understanding of clothing as a form of expression, a symbol of status, and a marker of cultural identity still resonates in our fashion choices today, reminding us of the enduring power of style. Ancient Greek fashion continues to inspire the world today. The aesthetics of Greece's yesteryears aren't confined to the annals of history. Rather, they echo in our present, shaping contemporary styles, architecture, and art. The draped dresses we adore on red carpets, the flowing lines of high-fashion creations, the simplicity of the tunic, even the sandals that grace our feet in summer, all pay homage to the ancient Greeks. The architectural columns that lend grandeur to our buildings are a direct nod to the Hellenic world. And let's not forget the myriad of art pieces, from sculptures to paintings, that borrow heavily from the Greeks, a testament to their timeless elegance. So the next time you see a draped dress, a columned building, or a Grecian-inspired painting, remember, it's not just a design, it's a legacy. From draped dresses to architectural columns, the legacy of ancient Greek fashion continues to captivate us.